Good evening, I'm Roger Swanson.
And I'm Gail Cannell. According to airport officials in Tehran, American journalist Gerald Seib has left the Iranian city and is headed for West Germany. Seib had been accused of spying for Israel, but was supposedly cleared. An announcement by the Iran Information Ministry said Seib was permanently banned from returning to Iran. Seib had been in Iran for 10 days when he was accused of spying.
NASA and the Defense Department have agreed to limit the use of space weapons on that space station or space platform that will be built in the next few years. The agreement will allow experimentation or research into components that could be used for space weapons, but none of the weapons themselves will be allowed on the platform. Reporters and congressmen tried to pry from the Pentagon copies of the agreement, but none were released, so we don't know exactly how restrictive this ban is.
Surrogate mother Mary Beth Whitehead was suffering from stress and anxiety last October when she visited a psychiatric center. Counselor Richard McDonald testified that Mary Beth, her husband, and children were all under a certain amount of stress and anxiety. McDonald was subpoenaed by attorneys for William Stern, the baby's biological father. The case continues in an effort to determine which parent is most fit to raise the infant now known as Baby M.
CBS News has been asked to cut its annual budget by up to $50 million. The request comes from Chief Executive Officer Lawrence Tisch and could develop a really radical restructuring of CBS News. The news budget has grown rapidly in recent years from about $89 million to nearly $300 million this year. And you know, Gail, this comes at a time when Dan Rather is in a nosedive, really, that CBS News has been number 3 for the last several months on the network surveys.
That's true. Homelessness is more widespread in America today than it was 4 years ago. Many people are regarding it as part of America's landscape. It is estimated that 500 to 600 people need shelter every night in our city, but the city cannot provide sufficient shelter for the homeless. Contrary to the stereotype that most homeless are single men, those also likely to be homeless today are women and children, individuals who have lost their livelihoods, young people who have left home, and the mentally ill. A state coalition for the homeless has been organized and will lobby with the health department to include more money for shelters in its budget.
The Chernobyl nuclear disaster last year killed 31 people in the Soviet Union, but as many as 150,000 more deaths could follow. That's according to American hematologist Dr. Robert Gale, who has been working with the Soviet authorities in treating victims of radiation. He said that during the next few decades, tumors could develop in as many as 150,000 people directly attributable to Chernobyl. Right now, about 500 people still are being treated in hospitals in the Soviet Union for radiation effects.
President Reagan marked a spirited 76th birthday today. There were no public celebrations, but First Lady Nancy Reagan planned a small private gathering at the White House. But some advocates for the aged say the Reagan administration is responsible for some of the largest reductions in spending for older Americans. Others claim he has done much to improve the image of aging. Reagan is still recuperating from his surgery and remains on a restricted schedule.
Well, we've all heard some of those sad stories about cats and dogs that have to go to the city animal shelter, but here's a tale with a different twist. In Rhode Island, a young Labrador pup started hanging around the city pound and was there for a day or two, and the attendants at the pound took sympathy on him, and it was almost as if the dog invited himself into the animal shelter. Well, they finally took him inside, and they fed him double rations and cupcakes and a lot of tender, loving care, and the dog is recovering and now has become a favorite at the city animal shelter there at Lincoln, Rhode Island. And he's doing very well nicely, and we thank you very much for watching our news tonight.
Thank you, and good night.